Today we've got a high press, small-sided game with trigger zones built in to indicate where we want to win the ball back and where we're going to try and win the ball back. So the areas of the pitch we're going to force the ball into so that we can press in a joined-up manner. Before we get into the drill, please remember to like and subscribe, drop us a comment below. All these things really help the account, really help us grow. So if you do subscribe, you do like the video, thank you very much. Now back into the drill. Today's objective, so basically we're working on setting traps. The objective is to win the ball back in the opponent's half of the pitch. And within that, to do that, we're going to set certain traps in certain areas to win the ball higher up the pitch in the opponent's half. So before we get into the instructions of what we want to do and how we're going to do it, the setup for this game, so we've got a 15 by 35, so 15 width, 35 length pitch. It's a 4x4, no goalkeepers. So we've got 2 goals, with it being a directional game. Again, if you want to play with the measurements, I've gone 15-35. If you want to change that due to the ability of your players, then please do. Make sure you're comfortable coaching the objectives and make sure your players are comfortable delivering the objectives. So like I say, it's a 4v4 and I've marked 2 trigger press zones in each half. So that's the grey shaded box. You might want to mark that out with flat cones, would probably work really well for this. So if you've got those raised cones, the ball will bounce off them. So if you've got flat cones, that'll work really well. What I've also got in is a box area. So the yellow cones are marking an area where you've got to score behind. So you can only score behind the yellow line and it has to be a one-touch finish. And I've got a halfway line, which will be an offside line in red. So with it being a high pressing drill, this allows the last defender to press up higher and we can catch the opposition offside. So we can trap them in their half of the field. I think that's a really important element of this game. So in terms of instructions, like I said earlier, it's a directional game. So one team is shooting one way, the other team is shooting the other way. We're trying to score, ultimately. So 4v4, you must score in the area behind the yellow cones, which will be a one-touch finish. Again, I say this every time. I always work on a one-touch finish. Well, most of the time I do. And the reason I do that, and again, I might get some challenge that it's not realistic, but I would argue that it is realistic because most goals are scored with a one-touch finish and in and around the second 6-yard area. If you win the ball back in one of the grey trigger zones here, you get 2 points. So the whole objective of our task is, as a coach, you're going to be working with the out-of-possession team and coaching the out-of-possession team. Can they dictate the direction of the ball and where the opponents are going to play the ball so that we can win the ball back in a central area? And in the opponent's half as well. So we're trying to win the ball back in a high position and in a central position where it's most dangerous. And the final instruction is that we've got a halfway line in, as I say, in red. So that last defender, we're really looking for them to push up and box the opposition into their own half while they're in possession. And that'll enable us to press more effectively as a team. If we've got one player that's sitting deep in their own half, it's going to be really, really tough to press as a 4 because there's going to be gaps in behind certain players and the opposition are going to be able to get into those gaps and play through. So we are going to play offside. So you want someone to be looking out for offsides. And you can only be offside in your own half, obviously. So the Blues can only be offside in the Whites' half. Before we get into the coaching points in this video, just a final reminder, please like and subscribe. It makes a massive difference and I would massively appreciate it if you took the time to subscribe and like the video. Thank you. So, first coaching point, and again, as a coach, during this drill, I want you to be working with the out of possession team. And it can be quite chaotic, this, because there's going to be a lot of transitions. So it's hard to work with both out of possession team. So you might want to structure it as you yourself work with one team, maybe Whites, and your assistant or one of your coaches works with Blues. So you're just focusing on one set of players. Or you might say to the teams, look, I'm just going to work with the Blues out of possession during this drill for 5 minutes, and then I'll switch to the Whites out of possession for the 5 minutes post that. and then just try and coach in a more drive-by fashion for the last part of the drill. So we're working with the out-of-possession team, and the first thing that we want to coach is that we want to be in a high block. So the halfway line here really, really helps us be in a high block. And to be in a high block, we need our last defender to be in and around the halfway line mark. So that gives the rest of the players confidence that they can press on, try and win the ball without leaving too many gaps in between them. And our starting positions, most importantly, are high up the pitch. And that's where a lot of teams go wrong, is that they try to press high, or certain players within a team will try to press high, and the starting positions of the rest of the team are nowhere near high enough, so they get picked off in the middle third of the pitch. So before we initiate the press, you see the whites here are in a high block. They're waiting for the press to come. They're not necessarily pressing the blues because they don't need to. Right, we've got a high block. Now when it comes into the central area, we're going to press, we're going to win the ball. We've gone as one, we've won the ball, and then we're going to go ahead and score. So it's really about the communication, not to press in singles, to go as one team, and to make sure that the line, our back line, is as high as possible, so that gives the confidence through the middle line and the top line to be able to press effectively higher up the pitch. The second point that we want to be coaching on is pressing triggers. And look, I've put the pressing zones in the middle part of the pitch. You might decide that you want to coach your team to press in fullback areas. So just move this wherever you want it to be. Move it to wherever you that suits your playing style. I've chose a central area because with the formation that I'm currently playing, and which has got two strikers, so I want to force the ball into a central area, try and win the ball into a central area, and then it's a much more dangerous position to win the ball in. We might get a lot more chances from that point. If you want to change direction, say you're playing a particular opponent and you think the fullbacks are weak, you might actually want to force the ball into those fullback areas and then try and win the ball there. That's absolutely fine. Just change your practice to suit. So you might actually have, rather than 2 grey boxes, you might have 4 grey boxes just in fullback areas. Absolutely got the freedom to change that to suit your style. But for the purpose of this drill, we are working in the central area, so we don't necessarily have to press when the opposition have got it in a deep area. We're going to manipulate our body shape to force the ball in certain directions, and as soon as the opposition play into those areas, after we've stopped the forward pass, playing into the central area now, we can win the ball, press with intensity. If we wasn't to win it, we just reset into our block. So our body shape during this drill is really, really important, and the lanes that we're showing the opposition into is also really important. So if we want the opposition to come and play into a central area, we wouldn't show them down the line. We would change our body shape to show them inside and encourage them to pass into that central area. And that flows through the team. So if the ball is out wide, we're showing them inside to play into that area. The person that's marking players to the left-hand side might not be pressing too hard, might be just waiting for somebody to enter that central area, knowing that as soon as the ball gets played into there, I'm going to press. But every player is thinking in a trap mentality. So we know exactly where we want the ball to go, and we know that our timing is really important in the press as well. Are we going to offer the opposition enough rope to get into those areas, feeling confident themselves, but actually we've lured them into those areas so that we can press them? This is where scanning out of possession is really important. We normally think of scanning as an in-possession tactic to find space to receive the ball. It's also equally as important out of possession for positioning and communicating with our teammates where they should be, seeing the direction of the ball, where we want the ball to go, and especially in these like trigger scenarios where we're trying to set traps, scanning where players are, scanning the position of the ball, scanning where we want the ball to go into is really, really important. And then with the information that you've downloaded, passing that on to your teammates. And then once we've done all of that, so we have had the correct body shape, we've been scanning out of possession to communicate to our teammate and give them instructions after what we've seen through our scanning. It's really important that we press together and we press as a block. So we don't just go in ones, we go in at least twos and we back each other up. Because if any part of that chain is not there, the opposition might have a clever touch, might get a bit of luck, but they're out and they're going to be able to play through the press quickly. And then before you know it, you're in a counter-attack scenario where you've got to try and delay and slow the opposition down so you can get back into your block. Once the ball has been won, what's also really important to coach is the intent to get forward, because we have to score with a one-touch finish in the area in front of the goals. So we have to score at pace before the opposition can get back in and delay and get their shape back. So the forward movement after that press has to be to go and score with the intent to score. So make sure that players aren't just comfortable winning possession and playing, that you want to see your players get forward with the intent to score. Because if you compare that to a game situation, if you win the ball in and around the opponent's half in that central area, you want your players to be really ruthless at that point, get forward, overlapping runs, and punish the opposition for losing the ball in those areas. You absolutely don't want to give the opposition time to reset and time to delay themselves and delay you so that they can get their shape back in. Cool, that's the drill today. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a little bit something different from our last high press drills that we've done. Please drop your comments below. Let me know what you think. Give us a thumbs up and please subscribe. Thank you.